If she suddenly crosses your mind at strange hours, understand this. There is a reason you are already occupying space in hers. And if you sensed a quiet shift in her energy, something subtle yet unmistakable, it is because a decision is forming beneath her silence. Pay attention. Most men believe attraction is loud. They expect obvious signals, dramatic gestures, clear confessions. But female psychology rarely announces itself. It moves in patterns. It reveals itself through behavior long before it ever becomes words. And when a woman cannot stop thinking about a man, she does not pursue him the way men pursue desire. She reorganizes her world around the feeling and acts as if nothing has changed. Here is the truth most men never hear. When a woman becomes mentally invested, her attention narrows. She begins filtering life through the lens of you. Even without realizing it, she notices things that bring you to mind. A phrase, a song, a moment. Each time this happens, your presence is reinforced inside her emotional memory. That is not coincidence. That is attachment forming quietly. If she does this one thing, reaching out without needing a reason, it is not casual. It is psychological proximity. A woman does not reach out from boredom as often as men assume. Boredom seeks distraction, not depth. When she reaches out to you specifically, especially with small, seemingly insignificant messages, she is not trying to start a conversation. She is checking the emotional temperature between you. She wants to know if the connection still exists without exposing vulnerability. Notice how her questions evolve. They become less about information and more about you, your opinions, your reactions, your inner world. This is not simple curiosity. This is calibration. She is measuring compatibility, imagining future emotional scenarios and placing you inside them. In her mind, you are no longer just an option. You are a variable. She is testing. This is where most men sabotage themselves. They over-respond. They lean in too quickly. They flood the space with reassurance. But mystery is oxygen to attraction. When you do not immediately validate her unspoken interest, something powerful occurs. Her mind fills the silence. She thinks about you more, not less. She wonders. She replays moments. She searches for meaning. Another sign you're on her mind is subtle emotional mirroring. Her tone begins to match yours. Her humor aligns with yours. Her energy settles into your presence. This is not conscious imitation. It is neurological bonding. Humans mirror those they feel connected to, and women do this deeply when emotional attraction is forming. Unconsciously, she is saying, "We are alike, we fit, pay attention to timing." When she replies faster than she used to, when she remembers small details you mentioned weeks ago and brings them up unexpectedly, that is mental real estate you did not ask for, but were given. Memory follows importance. The mind does not store what it does not value. Here is what most men misunderstand. If she pulls back slightly after showing interest, it does not mean she lost it. Often, it means it grew stronger than she is ready to acknowledge. Women retreat when emotions feel risky. Distance becomes a way to regain control. But the thinking does not stop. It intensifies. If she is doing these things, you are not just on her mind. You are becoming a presence she is emotionally negotiating with. And once a woman starts negotiating internally about a man, he has crossed a line that is difficult to uncross. What most men never realize is this. When a woman thinks about you often, it does not feel romantic to her at first. It feels disruptive. Her emotional system is built to maintain balance, and your presence begins to tilt that balance in ways she cannot easily explain. That is why the signs are rarely dramatic. They are controlled, measured, almost hidden, because she is trying to understand why you are occupying space in her mind without permission. If she begins including you in her everyday life verbally, that matters. When she casually mentions what she is doing, where she is going, or what just happened, even when there is no practical reason to tell you, she is creating continuity. She is mentally placing you beside her as life unfolds. This is how emotional closeness develops without intimacy ever being discussed. Watch how she reacts to your absence. Not with words, but with energy. When you pull back slightly and she fills the gap, that is not coincidence. Silence does not make an uninterested woman curious. It only works on someone who already cares. If she suddenly finds reasons to reappear after you have been less available, her mind has been circling you in that quiet space. Another powerful indicator is emotional regulation. When she is overwhelmed, stressed, or unsettled, and she reaches out to you, your presence has become a stabilizer. That is deep psychological territory. She associates you with calm, clarity, or grounding. And once a woman links a man to emotional safety, her attachment strengthens rapidly. Desire can fade, safety does not. You may notice she begins asking for your perspective on things that do not directly involve you. Decisions, dilemmas, small choices. This is not about advice. It is about alignment. She is comparing how your mind works to hers. She is imagining what it would feel like to move through life with your input consistently. She is rehearsing connection. Here is something subtle but critical. When a woman is thinking about you, she becomes more self-aware around you. She notices her words, her tone, her reactions. That is because your opinion now carries weight. Indifference does not create self-monitoring. Emotional investment does. If she teases you, challenges you, or playfully disagrees more than before, do not misinterpret it. That is engagement, not resistance. A woman does not mentally spar with someone she does not care about. She is energizing the connection, keeping it alive, observing how you respond under pressure. Emotional polarity holds her attention. At this stage, her attraction is no longer about fantasy. It is about consistency. She is watching to see if you remain emotionally grounded, if you stay centered when she fluctuates, if you do not chase reassurance when she pulls away. Men who move through this phase without realizing it are the ones women say they cannot stop thinking about, even when they cannot explain why. Inside her, a quiet internal dialogue is unfolding. She is asking herself questions she will never ask you. Why does he feel different? Why do I care what he thinks? Why does his absence feel noticeable? These questions do not come from surface interest. They come from emotional imprinting. And once a man becomes an emotional imprint, he does not disappear easily. Even if circumstances change, even if timing is imperfect, even if she tries to rationalize it away, the mind resists releasing what feels meaningful. If she is doing these things, understand this. You are no longer competing with other men. You are competing with her sense of control. And that is a battle attraction almost always wins. Here is an uncomfortable truth most men never hear. When a woman is thinking about you, her behavior often contradicts her words. She may seem distant. She may tease or challenge you. She may even appear irritated at times. That is not disinterest. That is her mind wrestling with feelings she cannot fully admit to herself. Female psychology often communicates in paradox. One of the clearest signs you are on her mind is subtle preparation. Watch how she adjusts her routines, her conversations, even her moods around you. She may reveal more of herself, drop small details about her day, or sync her humor with yours. These are not random actions. They are signals. She is making mental space for you, rearranging pieces of her life to see where you might belong. Another sign is emotional reflection. Women often replay interactions internally, analyzing your words, your gestures, even your silences. If she is doing this, she is not overthinking in a trivial way. She is evaluating, imagining, prioritizing. Your presence occupies a form of mental real estate reserved only for those she considers meaningful. That internal rehearsal is a silent but powerful form of attachment. Pay attention to the small confirmations. She remembers the details you mentioned casually, your favorite food, a childhood story, an offhand remark about something you enjoy. These are not random recollections. They are signals of importance. Memory follows emotional relevance, not convenience. The more she remembers, the deeper your presence embeds itself into her internal world. You may notice an increase in intentional or seemingly coincidental encounters. She appears where you are. She recognizes patterns in your routine. She times messages to arrive at precise moments. Timing matters psychologically. These moments are rarely deliberate. They are the result of a mind already occupied by you. Subtle consistency reveals far more than obvious gestures ever could. Then there is emotional energy. When she engages with you, there is a distinct warmth. Even in simple exchanges, the tone of her messages, her choice of words, the pauses she takes before responding all suggest emotional involvement. A woman who is not thinking about a man communicates efficiently, functionally, without depth. Nuanced emotional calibration only appears when attention is invested. One of the most revealing behaviors is mental mirroring. She begins reflecting your moods, language, and even body language. When you are together, it is not imitation, it is alignment. Mirroring happens naturally when psychological connection forms. Her mind adjusts subconsciously to maintain harmony with yours. It is a pre-verbal acknowledgement of emotional investment. Observe how she responds to absence. When you take longer to reply or become less available, does she check in subtly? Does she mention small details she knows will reach you? That is the mind staying active in your absence, keeping you present even when you are not there. A woman's attention is selective. She does not spend it on what she feels indifferent toward. Now notice the push and pull. This pattern is the brain's way of maintaining control while processing emotion. She may create distance to assess your reaction, but that distance often intensifies your presence in her thoughts. Emotional tension is not accidental. It forms naturally when interest meets self-protection. If she shows these signs, you are not simply on her mind. You have entered her internal world as a presence she cannot ignore, a thought that remains even when she tries to suppress it. Understanding this allows you to navigate attraction at a level most men never reach. Now consider the invisible signals that reveal when you have captured her mind completely. They are rarely loud or dramatic. They are quiet, persistent, emotionally strategic. When she thinks about you more than she realizes, her behavior operates beneath conscious awareness, as if a second mind is working silently in your favor. One of the first signs is anticipation. She begins predicting your reactions, preferences, and moods without being prompted. She suggests ideas you would enjoy. She brings up topics she knows matter to you. She subtly adjusts her behavior to align with what she believes you appreciate. This is not manipulation. It is subconscious preparation. Her mind is rehearsing future interactions before they happen. You may notice her opening up more easily, sharing thoughts, fears, or personal experiences she does not share with others. Vulnerability is never casual. When she reveals her inner world, it is because your presence feels emotionally safe. Even when framed lightly, her brain is signaling trust. That level of access is significant. Another indicator is consistency. When she checks in repeatedly without a clear reason, you have become a mental priority. Women do not invest cognitive energy in people who do not matter. Every small interaction strengthens the internal bond she is forming. Watch how observant she becomes. She notices changes in your mood, tone, and behavior. If you are quieter, she asks why. If you are energized, she responds to it. She is not just paying attention to what you say, but how you exist. This depth of awareness is often missed because it lacks overt praise. Yet it is a far stronger signal of emotional presence. Her communication may also shift. Messages become more personal. Conversations last longer. Laughter increases. Teasing sharpens. These are signs her mental rhythm is syncing with yours. She is mapping emotional space for you within her internal world. Even silence can reveal interest. If she pulls back, responds slower, or appears distant, it does not automatically signal disinterest. Often it means she is recalibrating, processing feelings she is not ready to express. The more a woman thinks about a man, the more she cycles internally between anticipation, evaluation, and restraint. Mental focus can lead to physical awareness. If she remembers details about your appearance, posture, or even scent preferences, that is not casual observation. It is emotional imprinting. Her brain is cataloging sensory experiences linked to you, strengthening mental presence. Notice how she engages with your social world. She observes your friends. She comments subtly on your interactions. She evaluates your social energy. When a man occupies her mind, he affects how she interprets the world around him. If she is doing these things, you have entered rare psychological territory. You are no longer a passing thought. You are becoming a consistent variable in her internal dialogue, someone she is continually evaluating, imagining, and emotionally negotiating with. That is the quiet power of mental significance. Here is the final truth most men never grasp. Once a woman mentally anchors to you, her thoughts about you persist, even when she conceals them. She may act relaxed, playful, or detached, but her mind continues running scenarios with you at the center. This is not daydreaming, it is subconscious evaluation. Notice how she references shared moments naturally. A small joke, a past conversation, a habit you mentioned long ago. These are markers of attention. The mind stores what it values. Pay attention to her response to your absence. If she notices when you are gone, asks about you indirectly, or shows curiosity about your day, that is mental focus. Attention sharpens when attachment forms. Mirroring deepens. She aligns her tone, humor, and posture with yours. This is not conscious effort. It is emotional synchronization. It is the body and mind communicating significance before words ever do. Small acts of care may appear. She remembers preferences, anticipates needs, responds to cues you did not think were visible. This reflects a mind running parallel to yours, constantly checking alignment. Distance can intensify focus. Women often step back when feelings escalate quickly. This is reflection, not rejection. The mind continues evaluating, imagining, strengthening attachment. Playfulness and challenge emerge as ways to sustain connection. Emotional sparring keeps tension alive. A woman who is not thinking about you does not invest energy here. At this stage, her mind is constantly referencing you, your thoughts, your behavior, your presence in her emotional landscape. You are no longer an option. You are a constant mental companion. Here is the key. If she is doing these things, you already occupy more of her thoughts than you realize. The challenge for most men is learning to match that depth without overexposing themselves. Presence, mystery, and consistency strengthen attraction. Now pause and reflect. Think about the last time she crossed your mind unexpectedly and the last time she reached out without a reason. Multiply those moments by the intensity of her attention and divide by the silence she maintains. What number do you get? Write it in the comments. And if this revealed something you had not noticed before, like subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it.